Hey guys, thanks for joining me for another Dissidia Final Fantasy Opera video. Today we're going to do a character guide on Core. My voice is almost there, we're getting there. But we'll see how it goes. Hopefully within the next few days my voice will be back to normal. But we're getting there. So anyways, we're going to do a character guide on Core. I know Core is like super hype. Very good character. Highly recommend people pull for him. Feel free to watch this video and decide for yourself, but he's got so much utility and so many great team comps you can use him in, right? So we're going to go ahead and look at his calls first, then we'll talk about his spheres and then his artifacts, right? So first calls, his calls are decent. They're not ones that I use too often, but his regular call, Moonlit Dawn, does give, so it's just going to do an attack, but it does give the caller brave damage taken down 80%, HP damage minus 20%, and they can't be broken. So it is a fairly good defensive call, right? And then the LD call, nothing too crazy from this. It does give the caller, or actually gives party attack and max brave up and overflow up. So it does have some decent party stats on it, but nothing too crazy. There's probably better calls you'd want to use, but if you're summoning for Core, you want him in the party. He's pretty darn ridiculous, right? So my Core is a full invest here, so you're going to see kind of him at his best. So for his artifacts, basically, if you're not familiar with Core, he's like an off-turn damage dealer that he's going to be attacking a lot. He's going to be stealing attacks in between. He's going to be getting a lot of breaks. And because he's doing that, you want to really focus on his attack and brave damage so you can get a lot out of all those extra attacks, right? So my recommendation here for artifacts is attack 108 and his C50. The C50 is going to give him max brave and attack. Attack 108 is your main priority, so if you can't get the C50, go with max brave or something like that. But attack 108 and the C50 is what you want there. And then for spheres, the A slot, you really want brave damage and attack. You could go physical attack, but I think he gets a little bit more out of like normal attack or brave damage. He's probably one of the best characters in the game for King Sphere. So I did go in and like refine it, or not refine, but like I ground up a full King Sphere by maxing out an extra EX that I had. When inflicting break, raises attack by 20%. This is probably the single highest percentage boost you can get on attack in the game. And so King Sphere is really good on characters that can break, re-break. Now, Core doesn't have like a re-break mechanic, but he's really excellent for this type of sphere because he's basically jumping in front and doing tons of follow-ups before the turns. So he's the type of character that he is going to steal breaks. Pretty much anytime the enemy unbreaks, he's going to jump in and re-break them. So Core, being that he can break so easily anytime the enemies unbreak, this is going to trigger a lot. And because he's doing off turn, I think it's going to refresh pretty often. So that 20% attack for King is probably his best option. Then other options you could do is just anything else that's attack or brave damage. So like I just have Jacked on here, which is int brave and attack by 10%. Very easy to activate. He doesn't do weakness damage, but you could get away with something like Jack that has attack and brave damage. You could look for other that's just like straight up attack. There are some 15% attacks out there. There's some brave damage 10% ones up there that are decent, right? So like Cloud, Raijin, those could be some other ones. I think Noel's got a decent one. I don't remember what it was, but like my last video, there was like a, what was it? Maybe it was Leon's. Somebody had like a brave damage 10% that was pretty decent, right? So you just look through your A slots, find what you got for attack and brave damage, go with that. D slot, you want basically one of your attack boosting options. So like Hope, I think Queen's another one I forget to mention, but like, Lise, Ash, Saz, anything like that. Luna Frey I would not because he's not weakness damage, but any of those other ones, I think Hope is probably the best because you're getting that nice combo of max brave and attack. So I put a full Hope Sphere on him. So mine's a pretty decked out Core. Ultima weapon, blue armor, everything maxed out, force enhanced up. So yeah, let's hop in and take a look at this bad boy, right? So I'm going to run him in a team comp with Luna Freya, and then I'm specifically going to use Kain to show off kind of like an exploit you can do with this kit. So we'll go ahead and hop in, and I guess I'll bring a friend unit because in case I decide to show off that exploit as well. There's a couple ways you can do this. All right. So the way Core works is that he basically will link up with somebody on your team. Typically, you want to link up with one of your more offensive characters. so that because they're going to be attacking more, and you want the linked character to be attacking a lot, right? So Lunafreya, what I'm going to do is let's actually start and just throw a heavy prayer down on Core. Core's like a really good candidate for the heavy prayer, by the way, with all the follow-ups and things that he's doing. I do want to charge up a little bit because I do have a force I need to show off with him. So we'll charge up a little bit here with Lunafreya. Actually, I probably could have done quick prayer because, yeah, I think I'm going to LD right away. This will put heavy prayer on, so I could have actually quick prayed somebody, but this is fine. Core's going to start off with 2 turns right away anyways. So we'll do that. We'll get another charge here. And then I'll probably just get Lunafreya's BT off just to make our characters look really busted and good here. So we'll do that. We'll just throw down one of these. And then I'll end Lunafreya's turn with a BT, and then she'll be ready to like quick prayer if I need to next turn. Actually, she's ready right now. Sure. Let's quick prayer Core and just make sure we can get him set up. He really doesn't need a lot of setup, but that's fine. We'll just do it anyways. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and get her burst effect up. Alright, so next we'll have Kayn. Kayn, characters like Kayn that jump up in the air, mainly Kayn and Freya, they allow you to export Core a little bit, exploit one of his buffs, which I'll explain in a minute. You also don't have to do that. You can just do it with a friend unit also. So you'll see how this works. Now Kayn, right off the bat, I do not want to get him up in the air. So I'm just going to pop his BT effect as well. And then we'll give Core some turns. Now Core, the nice thing is like his LD, it's not really tied to a specific buff. Like he gets his overhead, but it's like a non-expiring buff. He just has it. So you don't like have to refresh his LD for buff. So you really just use his LD for like power moments when you want to do a lot, right? I wonder if I should show off right away. No, so what you usually do with Core is you just lead with his 15 or his 35. Now his 15 and his 35 both will apply a very important buff called Oath of Absolute Defense on one of the characters that you select. Okay, so let's start with Moonlit Dawn, and we are going to apply the Oath onto Kayn. Okay. Alright, and then you'll see here he just does a nice little attack. Yeah, 538, that's pretty good with the heavy prayer on. So what it did is it did a party battery, and his battery scales off of attack. And so when I was talking about like spheres and artifacts earlier, this is why attack is better than physical attack, because the battery won't scale on physical attack, but it will scale on regular attack. So that's why you want to prioritize that. And then he did a brave HP attack with some splash on it, and then basically the Oath of Absolute Defense, right? Now here's the thing. Kayn has Oath of Absolute Defense for 6 turns. This buff can only exist at one character at a time. So if I were to apply that to Lunafreya, it would fall off of Kayn. So we'll keep that in mind, okay? Let's go ahead and show off Core's EX. So Core's EX, you do want to put this up right away, and this is why Core gets 2 turns. So what you want to do with this first 2 turns is put Oath of Absolute Defense up by using your 15 or 35, and then use this EX. Because what the EX does is it gives him one of Lucia's 3 buff. And basically this is Oath of Absolute Defense for himself. So let me explain what these buffs actually do. So Oath of Absolute Defense that we put on Kayn gives him an attack and max brave up, a defense up, brave and HP damage taken down. So he's getting a brave damage down of 80%, HP damage minus 20%. So it's going to keep Kayn very safe, and then Kayn cannot be broken by normal brave attacks. So it's a very good protective buff to have on. One of Lucia's 3, which is what Core put on himself, does pretty much the same thing. He gets an attack up and a max brave up, but then he gets the brave damage 80% down, HP damage 80% down, and he cannot be broken. So those are the 2 really important buffs you want to upkeep. So make sure Core keeps his buff up by using his EX, and make sure you're hitting the 15 or 35 periodically and keeping it on one of your allies, that Oath of Absolute Defense. Now here's what else happens that's really crazy, okay? So the way Core works from his LD is that he will do basically a follow-up attack or like an extra attack before a turn if one of the situations happens. So at the start of the turn, if an ally with Oath of Absolute Defense attacks, Core jumps in and attacks first, then the ally will attack. If Core attacks on his own turn while he has his EX buff up, he will do his like follow-up attack first, then his normal attack. If an enemy targets an ally with Oath of Absolute Defense, or if they target Core, he will follow up ahead of the turn. Now, the reason why this is significant is if the enemy doesn't all attack and attacks everybody, he's going to follow up twice, because he's going to follow up for the Oath of Absolute Defense and for his own EX buff being targeted. Now, if you can get Oath of Absolute Defense on the third character, he'll actually do triple follow-ups here, but you have to do an exploit to get on the other character. Because as I said earlier, Oath of Absolute Defense can only exist on one character at a time. So like I said, if I were to try to target Lunafreya right now, it would go off of Kayn. So what I'm going to do instead is show you the EX, or the LD. So what the LD is going to do, we'll use his AA also. This is kind of just a generic buff. AA, nothing too crazy there. But you see, as an overhead with 0 stacks on it, this is a stacking buff that stacks every time Core does a follow-up. So not from his regular attack, only from his follow-up attacks. But it builds up quick. And it only has to build up to 7. And that's with his rework. It used to be you had to build it up to 10. When this guy gets up to max stacks, you get a very powerful HP plus attack. What we're going to do is if we use the LD, his LD, so there's his follow-up. And then this is the actual LD. And this is going to put him at max stacks, and it's a free instant turn. Okay? So now what's going to happen with this is you're going to see he's going to get an HP plus attack called Reaper's Gale. This is going to be a full rainbow number attack, so it's going to be max damage. And he gets another free instant turn. So once again, he's going to attack. Because of his EX buff, he does his follow-up first. Then he does Reaper's Gale, full rainbow numbers. Very fat number. So he just did a mill AoE with that. Which is pretty crazy, right? So now let's just go ahead and do another attack. So let's say I use Snowbreak, which is the 35. Snowbreak is a party battery. AoE attack. Puts Oath of Absolute Defense on an ally. And it gives him a Crown Scarred Warrior buff, which is just a nice attack and max brave up. Now, because Kayn has Oath of Absolute Defense, I do not want to remove that. So I'm going to pick Kayn again. And it's just going to refresh that so Kayn has it. Okay? And then there's the Snowbreak, reapplying it, and then there's his actual attack, okay? Dude, 700k AoE. I know we're, like, really stacked here, because we have BTFX, Ultima Weapons, Lunafreya. But, dude, this damage is crazy because of all the follow-ups, and this is a guy I do recommend you, like, max invest, right? Okay, so, with Lunafreya, sure, let's just pop an energy heal. Let's start charging up a little bit. Because I think I am going to prep. I think I do want to just get Core up into his FR. So let's just pop this sucker all the way up. And then we'll Diamond Dust. Okay. Let's keep going. Or actually, let's reapply the Heavy Prayer to Core. Perfect. And that's with their BTFX. So now it's 4 turns. And let's keep charging. Okay, that should be good because Kayn's going to have a turn also. Alright, so let's go ahead and EX here. This is going to be a pretty dang nasty force time, by the way. Well, it's nastier, so his force time I feel like is better if you're actually running like a defense comp. So I'm going to show off a really fun defense comp with him for my Shinryu run. So keep your eye out for that video. Core's really fun with a defense comp. Okay, so what we're going to do with Kayn. Now, once again, he's got Oath of Absolute Defense, so we're going to hit his LD. And what's going to happen is Core's going to jump in first because he's got Oath of Absolute Defense, and then Kayn jumps up and does his thing. This is going to be some big damage, by the way. Like, this is kind of crazy. 1.5 mil. Okay, so now Kayn's going to jump up in the air. Alright, so here's the exploit. So as I mentioned earlier, if Core were to put Oath of Absolute Defense on Lunafreya, it takes it off of Kayn. However, if Kayn is up in the air, his buffs can't be affected. So I can put Oath of Absolute Defense on Lunafreya, and Kayn will still have it while he's up in the air. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and double jump with Kayn. And Kayn, remember, has Oath of Absolute Defense. Okay? And if the enemies target him and attack him, even if they miss, Core should follow up, right? Now what I can do with Core is I could put, like, Moonlit Dawn on, or I could put that on Lunafreya, right? Now, one thing I want to check here on his FR. I don't think his FR is instant turn. It is not. So, I'm going to wait and do his FR after the next turn. So what I'm going to do is I do want to get Oath on Lunafreya for my exploit. So I'm just going to use the 15 here. And I'm going to put Oath of Absolute Defense on Lunafreya. Now both characters will actually have that buff. Because Kayn was up in the air and the buff could not be removed. So the other way that you can exploit this is with a friend unit. So let's pretend Kayn wasn't Kayn. Let's pretend it was Machina that had it. You would bring in a friend unit while Machina has the buff on. He holds the buff while he's not on the team. Then you buff your other main party member. Then when the friend unit goes away, Machina would come back in and they would all have it, right? Okay. So Lunafreya, what I'm going to do, shoot, I really want to quick prayer him. Because I do want Core to get a bunch of turns. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to do some free turns with Lunafreya to get her counters up to 4, and then I want to quick prayer him. Okay, so we're going to do that, and then we're just going to do this again to get her counters up. Okay. And notice that, like, Core didn't follow up on those Lunafreya turns. It's because you have to actually attack. So typically you wouldn't want to put Oath of Absolute Defense on a support character, but I'm just doing this to show off that multiple characters can have it. Okay, so I'm going to quick prayer on Core. Okay, and then now Lunafreya is actually going to do an attack, and you'll see Oath of Absolute Defense will take effect here. So you see, there we go. Core's attacking ahead of time. Lunafreya's hopping in. And now Core with its like kind of FR setup will have multiple turns here to kind of show off. Okay, so we're going to do this. I would like to get the enemies to do an all attack, but I don't know that they will. We'll see. So here's the A enemy. He's targeting Kayn. Okay, so watch this. So there, Core just jumped in and attacked, and that's because he targeted Kayn. And even though he attacked and missed, Core jumped in and did that, right? So if an enemy did an all attack, Core would do 3 of those, which is kind of crazy, right? So now Core here's got everything kind of going on. What we're going to do with Core is we are going to pop the FR. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's see who his partner is here. Trying to remember who he's got. Oh, Gilgamesh, that's right. Okay. So let's see how much damage we get on this. It's going to be pretty good. Because like we've got a pretty stacked team right now. Yeah, you can see that Heavy Bear Puff, the extra HP attacks being dumped. Yeah, dude, 1.6 AoE is kind of crazy. Alright, so here's what the FR does. Yeah, and then Kayn's going to be dropping like bombs up there. Alright, so it's a big AoE attack that you just saw there, right? You get party Brave damage up during FR time. Brave and HP damage taken minus 50%. So the party's even harder to kill because you've got the Oath of Absolute Defense and the EX buff up. And then Core's Brave hits actually have a 40% chance to rainbow. So it's kind of like Setzer where you have like that percentage chance to rainbow. So now any of Core's attacks can rainbow. And then for the HP damage up, off-turn attacks do 5%. And this is every off-turn attack. So if there's multiple off-turn attacks in the same turn, they will each do 5%. Which 5% doesn't sound like much, but in the right team comp, if you're doing a bunch of off-turn, which I'm going to show a defense comp, like I said, in the Shinryu fight, it's kind of crazy how quick you can get that up. And then the other is you get 40% if you deal more than 9,999 Brave damage in one turn. Are on a hit. So basically that's what the rainbow numbers help with, but if you have like blue armor or ultima weapons, those all help you exceed like the Brave damage limit. So as long as your character can exceed the Brave damage limit and they're actually doing enough Brave damage to the enemies, you're going to get that, right? So it's actually a pretty nice force condition. So what we're going to do is we're going to refresh the EX here. So let's pop it. Okay, so there's the follow-up. That should be 5%, and then this should be 40. Because we're going to hit rainbow numbers, right? Yep, tons of rainbow numbers. Okay, so we just got 48 from that. Pretty darn good, right? And then look, Kayn's follow-up, 5%. So that counts, right? So now Core can Reaper's Gale. Follow up, get a bunch of rainbow numbers. Yep, going up 48%. Kayn's going to drop down to 5%er. Okay? The reason why like the defense team can be crazy is because the enemies, if they're really aggressive, you can do a ton of 5% ups without even taking a turn, right? What we'll do is, let's kind of go crazy here. Let's loop, because you can kind of do some LD loops. So let's just do an LD loop and then go back into his... So we'll just loop a couple times and let him do some crazy damage here. Because Kayn's up in the air doing his thing anyways, right? And then we're just getting like tons of damage here. It's crazy. Okay? I do kind of want to let the enemies attack a bit too, but I'm going to kind of abuse this. Let's get another Reaper Scale off. What I'll do is I'll save his last LD, because I do kind of want to get like a really fat Reaper Scale off with a high percent. So let's just do a regular attack here. So let's go ahead. I haven't used Snowbreak in a while, so let's Snowbreak, and we want to hit Lunafreya, because Kayn's up in the air and he's not losing his buff. So we'll hit Lunafreya for the Oath of Absolute Defense. And you guys can see this is like a showcase setting. Like I'm not like super trying to optimize this particular fight, and we are just melting these enemies away like very easily, right? So with Lunafreya, I think I am just going to have her just do an attack. And now the enemies are going to attack, and we're going to see some follow-ups come through here. I would love to see the enemies do an all attack, but I don't think they're going to here. No, they're doing single target. Single target. Oh, and actually Kayn jumped in front. So what I need to do is I want to get Kayn up in the air again right away. Alright, so now You'll see here, just to prove what's going on here, Kayn, you see, has Oath of Absolute Defense. Lunafreya, whoops, let me click on her. She also has Oath of Absolute Defense. Now, at this point, Core cannot touch his 15 or 35, otherwise he's going to remove it from one character. However, if I get Kayn back up in the air again, then I'm free to go ahead and pop that again. So let's get Kayn up in the air. I guess I could have left Kayn down, but I've already set it up now. Alright, so let's get Kayn up, and then the enemies are not doing an all attack. That's okay. So let's get Kayn back up. Follow-ups like crazy. I mean, I'm pretty effortlessly here, pushing this gauge pretty darn high. Like, it's going up pretty darn good here. Look at, and then all these follow, like we just did over a mil on just that little follow-up. Okay, enemy attack Lunafreya. Kayn's going to follow up, another 5%. Core's jumping in front again because the enemy's attacking somebody. It's just crazy, you guys. Ooh, that could have been nasty, because if he got paralyzed, it would kind of mess stuff up, because he can't get follow-ups if he's paralyzed. But we got lucky. We're okay here. Alright, so what we're going to do is, it's kind of unfortunate he's at 6, but let's just end it with an LD, and then we'll pop the Reaper scale and see how much damage we get on this force gauge here. It's going to be crazy. Yeah, dude, that was 5 mil. Okay, sure. Alright, well, we might actually just beat this Shinryu fight. We're at 600%. Let's actually pop the summon to get some extra damage. I actually have Rain's Call on too, so I could have been like launching this whole time. So let's hit this dude at 23% with a Reaper scale with a launch. This is going to be crazy. So let's Reaper scale him just like off the face of the earth here. This is going to be a ton of damage, you guys. Yeah, I think we're going to actually kill this dude. Look at this insanity. And you guys have seen me do these showcases. I typically do not come this close to killing these guys at the end of a showcase. And we basically beat the Shinryu fight, so we might as well just finish it off at this point, right? Sure, let's just Snowbreak on Lunafreya. No, I might not meet the HP requirement for this fight, because I don't really care about that. I mean, obviously I've beaten this fight before. This is the first ever Shinryu, right? But still, like, the amount of damage here is just kind of crazy. I would love to be able to get him to do an all attack, but he's not one. But this is why Core's so crazy. Like, it's just constant attacks. The Oath of Absolute Defense is actually a really good, like, tanky skill to put on. So, like, you could even get away, like, not running a tank in a very hard fight just because he's protecting enough. And you could run, like, 2 damage dealers or, like, a damage dealer and, like, a Lunafreya. Like, we've got this set up here. Let's pop the EX. I mean, this guy's just going to be about out of here. So he's got a very good, very easy to use force time, right? There we go. Just popped a Shinryu, like, casually here during a showcase. So anyways, guys, let me know what you think of Core. I think he's absolutely busted. I do think he's very much worth pulling for. Highly recommended. So thanks for watching. We'll catch y'all on the next one.